Hi everybody, and welcome to this extra very special hobby stream here on a Friday with us at Hobby Titans. I'm Zach, and the man to my left loves a good Friday. He also loves lasagna, and he hates Mondays, but the similarities to a certain orange cartoon cat stop there because Brett Lee loves a good vacuum cleaner. Brett, how's it going?
Clean floors, there's nothing like them.
There's nothing like them. And you know, Garfield gets angry and he makes John use a broom on carpet.
I know. What's up with that? That's like...
yeah. Look, we have made a mess on the carpet here today because we've been working with pink foam. That's what we're doing today.
This is going to be a super fun show, guys. If you have been intimidated by pink foam or thinking adding some pink foam to your tables might be a good way to spruce it up a little bit, this is the show for you. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we have a couple exciting things going on today. So I think we should just get into it. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get creative. Okay, what is this? Well, if you are a Tabletop Titans fan, you know that our sister channel has started a Kickstarter in which they are releasing their own pop-up terrain, and here it is. Now, we decided what we would show is how to, I guess we could say, spruce it up with some scatter.
Yeah, so the terrain, the building in the center and the mat that building is on in this photo are sort of what comes in the box.
Yep.
And what we're going to be building today are these rocks, these masonry bits around the base.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of a couple different ways we're going to approach that, this sort of sprucing up of the terrain. And what we've seen in the games that the guys have been streaming this week is that just a little bit of moss, some pink foam rocks, a few trees. You don't even need a lot. Just like a shoebox size bit of scatter can completely transform this like already amazing table to something that's next level.
I think so too. And what I like about it is so you pick up this terrain box and it's easy to store, and to add to the inexpensiveness,
right?
You, like you said, shoebox size, and the not just the inexpensiveness, but the space,
right?
Shoebox size of pink foam, and
lightweight,
and moss, even more lighter,
also
weight.
Lightweight,
right?
Yeah, so we're sort of sticking with the theme here that we think that this terrain set is going to be great for people who have, don't have tons of space to store stuff, don't have a lot of extra money to throw at terrain.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be kind of showing you how we can make, using pink foam, some lightweight, small scatter that will also be inexpensive to add to your Tabletop Titan or to your Titans terrain. And if you haven't checked out the Kickstarter yet, the link is in the video description below. Check it out. We think it's awesome. Yeah,
we do. And like I was saying, the thing I really like about it, yes, of course, it's nice that it's inexpensive and it's easy to store. But to add scatter to it as a hobbyist is really nice. And I was saying last night on their channel that the thing that's kind of cool about it is we've heard people on our stream and our channel and our community say they want to get started on pink foam. And we've also heard people say they want to get started on airbrushing. We've often said here that airbrushing is, if you're trying to get started, terrain is where you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pink foam terrain is even better because every time you screw up, you're just like, you're out like a few pennies.
You're like, less than a nickel.
Less than a nickel. So, and you can cut more to begin with and plan to screw up and practice and stuff. Yeah. So you really go a long way with just adding a little bit of scatter if you're trying to level up your hobbying as well.
Yep. This is a great intro to pink foam and to terrain making in general.
Exactly. So the other thing that's kind of exciting about what we're doing today with pink foam, in the past when Brett and I have worked with pink foam on the stream, we have rarely cut and done much of the pre-work for the pink foam.
Yeah, we show up to the episode with everything kind of already made, and we're just painting it.
I think maybe once I did like a little pre-video that kind of glossed over that real quick. Today we're actually going to show you how to cut pink foam in a couple different ways. With the wire cutter, which Brett will be using.
Yep.
You guys have seen that.
Fun job.
Yeah, you guys have seen that before. And I'm going to do it another way that's very popular, which is honestly with a utility knife.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you some ways to make the utility knife process a little more manageable.
Right.
I'll show you the type of blade I like to use, and we'll also even be sharpening our blade a bit as we go along.
Yeah, we'll talk about this during the video, but for some reason, expanded polystyrene is like really hard on on knife blades. So if you're using a knife blade to cut, if you don't want to go the wire cutter route, like the knife blades, you gotta, sharpening them helps a lot.
You can get more precision cuts with this thing, but also it blunts very quickly.
Right.
Like Brett's saying, there's some sort of magic happening, and what ends up happening is your blade is just like almost immediately very blunted.
I don't get it. I'm super curious to learn more about it, though.
Yeah, so Brett, let's see what it is you're going to be making here. Because there is kind of a finished one off to the side.
Right. So this is what we're going for. This is just a basic sort of rock line of sight blocking. You could play this as breachable if you wanted, but it's a good way to sort of the table. We'll see in a second. We're going to show you the trailer that kind of goes into more detail of what the Titans terrain looks like. But there's sort of one building in each tile, and so you can end up, because it's sort of a grid pattern, you can end up with some like firing lanes that run the length of the table. And so things like this can be used to kind of block off certain firing lines if you want them to be specifically closed, or there's some open tiles that don't have any buildings in them, and you could put things like this in those open tiles to clutter them up a little bit.
And obviously, we think this product is pretty cool. We've gone to see it. We've gone to stream games with it, play on it a little bit. But what that is nice is, honestly, we always kind of talk about, like, you have a terrain set. You want a little bit more than one exact set.
That's right, yeah.
So like Brett's saying, to be able to like use more of the empty tiles and say, hey, I'm going to put the rocks in today. I'm going to have a couple less buildings and stuff like that. Pink foam, and honestly, these are not quite scatter. You know, we're saying this is a scatter stream, but this is really the purpose here. We want to show is some ways you could actually add something that had effect on the Titans terrain. But again, very inexpensive and pretty easy to make.
Cool. Well, shall we show the trailer really quick before we get started?
Yeah, let's go ahead and show the trailer. Now, if you're a Tabletop Titans fan, you've already seen this trailer probably a couple times. We want to show you what we're talking about when we say the Titans terrain. So we're going to show the trailer these guys made for their Kickstarter and to promote this. As you're watching, just take a look at it and see, try to imagine more scatter on it. Because that's what we're going to do.
Here we go. Well, that was unfortunate. There was no audio during that video, but you get the general gist of it.
Yeah, that's so weird. We just ran it right before, and there was audio.
But you know what? Scatter train doesn't make noises.
Scatter train doesn't make noises.
It's mostly about the visuals.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Big apologies. However, let's move on. And here it is, pink foam.
XPS, if you're in the UK.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've kind of been wondering that. So, two ways we're going to cut it. Like I said, Brett's going to use the wire cutter. I'm going to use the old utility knife, and we'll talk about what that is and some resources for making that work, because it is a little odd. Okay, Brett, are we ready to get started on this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, let's. Who should we show first? Let's. Let's show what you're going to do first.
Yeah, so I've got, my goal is to end up with something that looks vaguely like this. This is our test piece. And we're going to do sort of two different things here. We've pre-glued the piece together here. I'm going to show top down.
Yeah.
I've pre-glued this guy into roughly the shape that I think I'm going to want. And I'm going to go at it with this foam cutter to sort of shape the general shape of the rock. We've got a new technique we're going to show here, which is this texturing on the surface.
Oh, we're excited about this.
And this is achieved with an actual rock. So just go outside, grab a rock off the ground.
Yep.
And you just kind of press it into the foam. I'm going to do this after I do the wire cutting. And it adds a lot in the way of surface texture to what is otherwise a very smooth. So pink foam tends to be, you can use it for like sort of manufactured concrete, and, and it works really well just out of the box.
We've done that a lot here.
Shown that before. Right? Yeah, but to make a natural texture that looks like it's from nature, just kind of pressing an actual rock into the surface, it takes to that really well. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to use a little bit of milliput in these gaps to try to minimize. We didn't do that here, but we think that doing a little bit of gap filling doesn't need to be a lot. Just a little bit can go a long way to kind of reducing some of these, I don't know, quote unquote mold lines that will hide some of that. And then we're going to be going through a paint recipe to achieve a look and we've picked out some paint colors here, and we'll go through these in a sec, but we've intentionally chosen these colors to match the color palette of the Titans terrain.
Yeah.
So you'll see when we're done that this rock with the greens and the browns pretty closely matches the color palettes of the open crater section on the Titans terrain.
Yeah, we'll pull that out here in a sec.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to get started with.
Okay.
And I'll switch over to you, Zach.
Yeah, so while Brett's doing that, I'm going to show you guys what I'm up to here. So I'm going to be making these masonry kind of steps. A couple things you can do with them. One, we talk about them as scatter, but you can actually see I've glued a few of them together here to make a barricade. The Titans terrain does not have barricades, so if you do want to play like barricade rules, then you'll want to make barricades, and that's kind of what that is. This is actually also scatter, and you can... Well, one, you could stack a few of these on your own and not glue them together, although if you did that, things would be a little... Every time you want to play, you'd have to sit here and build your own barricade. Not ideal. Here, we're kind of doing two things with these. One, like I said, making barricades. Two, making scatter. And what I actually like to do is just put the barricade down and then put like a few of these down around it to make scatter.
This is like having a few pieces that are pre-assembled and then a few that are loose. Allows you to kind of mix and match and create some cool combos.
Exactly. And okay, let's talk about cutting this a little bit. So what I have purchased is this is the link to this is actually, we have links for all the tools here we're using today. And what I have purchased is a blade, like a utility blade, and this is one of the snap-off blades. What that means is as I cut, I can sit here and snap off pieces as they become dull. I actually am not going to do that too much though, because we're going to use a diamond sharpener to also keep this thing kind of sharp. Like Brett was saying, it is crazy how fast pink foam blunts this stuff. So we have to kind of keep on top of it, and we have a few ways to keep the blade sharp. Like we said, sharpening, but also then pushing out and getting deeper into the blade as we move along. And look, frankly, if you're going to use the blade to cut, you're going to go through these things. There's just kind of no way around it.
Yeah. One of the things that you should also think about is safety glasses when you are... Do we have a set here?
Oh, we do.
Yeah. So because this blade, because it's got these sort of breakpoints built into it, it can be the case that if you sort of apply some sideways pressure to it, that the blade will just kind of snap when you're not intending for it to do so, especially if you have it overextended, because like here, you're probably not going to overextend it too far because you're cutting through a 1 inch thick piece.
Yeah.
But if you've like pre-glued it into a block like this and you're trying to cut through multiple layers and you have it extended really far, it can be the case that you can unintentionally snap it off, and safety glasses are good.
Now, I agree. Good point. And now, as far as safety is concerned, since Brett's worried about my safety, we'll just say that we do have, as always, our ventilation set up because the pink foam wire cutter actually puts up a lot of nasty fumes as well. And we do have a fan in here and the air filter. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, we want 1/2 inch thick. Brett, actually, I think for this we might just want like straight top down.
Yeah,
not not the zoom at all. Or this is good, or even top down on me. That might be best. So what we want here is 1/2 inch thick. That's a choice. You could do thinner if you want. So I'm going to do 1/2 inch thick here, and what I'm going to do is basically mark this out with a normal X-Acto knife, cutting a little bit deep, but not too deep. And yes, the pink foam is going to blunt this guy too. And one of the things I would recommend if you are going to use any kind of blade on pink foam is do a little practice. You'll actually get a sense of the feel of when the blade is getting dull. And why don't you want the blade to get dull while you're cutting pink foam? You're going to go, well, it's not a big deal, right? It's just going to make things harder. It's not going to do that at first. At first, it's going to start tearing chunks, these awkward chunks out of the pink foam.
It's really weird. It goes pretty quickly from cutting the foam to tearing the foam.
Yep.
And so you no longer get really nice smooth cuts, and you get these like ragged, rough, torn edges.
Yep.
And so which maybe is interesting if you're going again for like a natural formation.
Yeah.
But if you're like these blocks are meant to be sort of manufactured blocks that some person or alien has like chiseled out of the earth intentionally to be rectangular.
Right.
So you want it to be a nice smooth cut. Oh my gosh, that noise.
Yeah, Brett really is, certain people have like different noises that they're bothered by, and this, unfortunately for Brett today, is one of them.
The noise of a knife going through pink foam is like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Now, worth pointing out a couple things today before we get cutting here completely with the blade. We do have a few super chats that I think it's worth reading through. What do you think?
Yeah.
Should we read through some super chats that came in?
Yeah, hold on a sec. I got my hot wire blade stuck and it fell off.
And there you go. Every time you cut this thing, you get like these few seconds of just like beauty in cutting it. Just go straight through, and then you start to get a little rough. And I actually even felt some of my earlier cutting here get a little. I can feel some bumps down in there.
All right. So our first super chat of the day is from Bridger Hahn. Does this work? ?
Yeah.
I don't know, Bridger.
Yeah, Bridger.
Does it work?
Does it work? And what's the next one here? Is this also from Bridger?
Yeah, second super chat of the day. Thank you very much, Bridger.
Thanks again, Bridger.
How about now?
How about now? Does it work now?
Does it work?
This is way to the second.
Does it work? How about now?
This is way to the first super chat.
I think it's a follow-on to the first super chat.
He super chat twice. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about now? Still not sure, Bridger. I would throw that question back at you.
Yeah.
How about now?
And then what is there another one from Bridger?
So our third super chat.
Is that seriously also from Bridger?
Let me scroll down. Our third super chat is indeed from Bridger.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Bridger, for your donation. And Bridger's message is test 3.
Test 3. Okay.
Thank you, Bridger.
Thanks so much.
I don't think there's a question there, but I really appreciate that. The commentary. Right, so what Bridger's referring to, he had built a robot for us that scrolls the YouTube chat and pulls out super chats and puts them into a nice window for us, so we don't have to. So they hopefully don't get lost in the. Hopefully don't get lost.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of him. Thank you for helping us with that, Bridger.
Thanks, Bridger.
And apparently it works. All right, that was a joke. Thanks, Bridger, for oh my gosh, Zach. Oh,
I should have warned you. I was wondering if it'd be like a needle, and if I did it, if you just.
I don't know if you guys can hear this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So first actual super chat. Thank you, Fugs.
It's really actually not quite an actual super chat either, is it?
Bridger, didn't you say you had this running already? Oh, you're right, Zach.
So now I think we're caught up. But thanks, Fugs. Thanks, Bridger. And we appreciate it.
All right, cool. But yeah, thanks, Fugs, for the donation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, I need earmuffs or something.
I'm almost done. This won't be too much.
You just say that.
I say that, but here we go. Ready? It's coming.
Okay.
Is that,
all right. I'm ready. Okay,
here we
do it.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't know. So we were talking about this before, and apparently Adrian really likes this sound.
Did he say that?
I think he did.
Okay.
And so I think it's weird. It's like, for some people, cilantro is amazing, and for other people, it tastes like soap.
Yeah, I heard.
I feel like this is like the terrain version, the hobby version of that.
The hobby version of cilantro. Pink foam, the hobby version of cilantro.
Yeah.
Well, specifically cutting pink foam with a blade. Which, look, I'll say this. I do need to include another link in the show, and that link is to this amazing document. In fact, I did post this in the Discord already in the Hobby Titans talk about a week or so back. There's an amazing PDF document that a user from a Facebook group created that is just like an awesome guide to cutting pink foam, especially without the wire cutter. I think he addresses the wire cutter in there as well. And he talks about this, and it's honestly the guide I followed. So if you're in the Discord, you'll see that I posted in the Hobby Titans talk. Definitely worth checking out. And I will say this, I just find personally, is it working okay? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a screwdriver to tighten these, so I'm using the saw that you hate as a screwdriver.
I will say that with using blades on pink foam, I find it, frankly, just not quite as easy as the wire cutter. But you can kind of get these more straight cuts, especially if you are using the side of the pink foam that is like cut by the manufacturer. As you can see here, kind of one of the things I was talking about is we get these little bumps and ridges, and that's always just from the blade not being sharp enough. And it's hard to do. It takes practice. I still don't have it down. You can see there's bumps, but that's okay. We can actually work around them.
Some of them, like a few of them, actually adds to it a little bit. It's just if you get too many, it looks a little weird.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now that we've cut this a half an inch thick is we're going to cut 2-inch blocks out of these here. Now, if your mat actually shows inches, that's awesome, and this one does. My cutting mat here. So every one of these is half an inch. So I need to cut every 4. So what I'm going to do, make sure this guy's nice and sharp. And the first one, I'm just going to kind of see. Brad, I said we're almost done, but we're really cutting.
Yeah, we're not. I didn't believe you.
Now, here's the thing. One of the motions that does give you a nice clean cut for smaller pieces is, and boy, this is going to be awful if you hate this sound, but it is really like a back and forth saw style cut. So here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and we can get one, but you can see I'm getting a little bit of bumps. So whenever I get those bumps, I'm just going to take a moment and sharpen my blade. This sharpener, by the way, is also included in the links underneath. I got this from Home Depot, which is like the home improvement store here in the U.S. And what I will say is it was a little pricey. It's about $30, but it does work quite well. It doesn't need oil.
Yeah, that's kind of huge.
Oil makes it a little messy, right?
It does. It makes it messy, and especially if you don't want to have to wash your foam, because we're gonna paint this afterwards.
We don't want oil.
So if you got oil all over your knife, and then you got your oily knife would get oil all over the foam, and then how do you wash that off before you can prime it? I don't know.
Okay, there we go. Finally, so you can see nice and sharp, and now we finally got like that pristine bladed cut right there. So. If I do it, I'll show you guys though. Watch. If I do this again, I probably won't get it. It'll probably already put bumps back into it, which, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. But they're there. So look, this is kind of what I was saying. This is why, the blade is great. Frankly, this guy was $30. This thing was close to 10 plus the blades. What Brett's got in his hand is the pink foam wire cutter. I think it's $45. So if you're kind of wondering, do I want to cut foam with the pink foam wire cutter, or do I want to cut the blade? The blade must be cheaper. The wire foam seems like a specialist tool, must be super expensive, blah, blah, blah. I don't really think that that's exactly true.
Yeah, I think if you're going for the rough look,
they do different things.
Then you don't need to sharpen your knife, and the blade is a more interesting proposition to me. But if you're looking for sort of smooth, manufactured lines in your pink foam, then you need some way of sharpening your knife. and the cost goes way up when you have to think about sharpening it or replacing the blade, every 2 or 3 cuts. Snapping off one of those pieces.
Our blades our masonry here today is someplace in the middle of what Brett's describing, because it is manufactured, but it's also war torn and ruined. So we're okay with a little bit of damage. But if you want to attempt like a pristine block with the pink foam, you really got to put your work in, got to get practicing, and really need to like have your blade game really good.
Yep.
And frankly, it's sort of like what I talk about airbrushing, right? Just like airbrushing is a pain in the butt if you're not staying on top of cleaning your airbrushing. Your airbrush. And this is the same thing.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl. The foam cutting isn't so bad on my end, but thanks for toughing it out, Brett. I think he's referring to the noise.
The noise, I hope so.
Yeah. Glad to hear, Carl. You must have a similar. You must have also inherited the gene that makes the cutting of foam with a knife the most painful sound you can possibly endure.
Yeah.
This would be like if I held some state secrets and the government, some foreign government needed to get them out of me. It would just be tying me in a chair and like doing that right there, that noise.
And we're almost kind of done.
Okay. Well, do you need any information out of me right now, Zach?
Yeah, I know, right?
I will gladly tell you whatever you want to hear to make it stop.
Pink foam for days, Fred. We can do this all day long. Now, Carl also asks, anyway, I'm looking for a good warp flame recipe for my Infernal Master. And Carl, if you're still there, which it looks like you are, let me know real quick. I'll give you 2 either way, but let me know if you're airbrushing or not. Now, I will say I also have an Infernal Master that I've worked on here, and in general, Thousand Suns, you need all that kind of psychic flame stuff going on with them. So there's a number of ways to do it, right? First, I will say that the Citadel Technical Paint, which is the Hex Wraith, it's, really they have released a number of these like kind of technical paints. There's one for Night Haunt. I forget what they call it. We have it here. Gloom.
There's a Necron one.
Something. The Necron one is Hex Wraith or something like that. They are actually kind of just, I think they're almost like the original trial runs of the contrast paint line. But the Hex Wraith is interesting because it is actually quite fluorescent. It's almost like a neon green contrast paint. And I will say that I have found that it works quite well.
You like it?
I do like it. So one of the ways you can get, and I would actually run through an airbrush. I've done that. So you kind of put white. Believe it or not, you've got the Infernal Master is the one who's got his hand out, like he's doing something like this. And if you want the magic, and he's also got the magic pieces surrounding them all.
Magic pieces.
What I think I might do is you're going to go from like light grays, maybe administratum gray, to what's called like Citadel paint. It's like Uthwa gray, which is like the really light, almost like cool gray, almost white gray, and then up to like white scar. So you're going to just go from light grays to whites, and then try putting that Hex Wraith all over that stuff. So it's transparent enough that the shading underneath is going to come through.
Yep.
So that's one way of doing it. Try that out as practice first, as always. But that's kind of one of the ways I've done it. Now, if you don't want to use the Hex Wraith is kind of cool because it does do a good job of kind of like falling into the creases and giving you more natural shading without having to do like any kind of Zenithal work with an airbrush. So I like that. Here we go, Brett, real quick. Sorry. Oh. So I do like that about the Hex Wraith, but I will say that also it may not be the color you want.
Carl does say that he has Hex Wraith and Night Haunt Gloom,
Yeah, and keep in mind, here's the thing, Carl, like I was saying, they don't exactly market it this way, but all those are contrast paints. So if you want to play around with their contrast line, you can pick up a pink or a lighter blue, because Night Haunt Gloom is kind of like is sort of like a gray. It's not exactly gray, but it's a muted blue. I think I would describe it as. So I would say play around with the contrast paints for some of this. The other thing you could do, like if you want it almost like a rainbow look, you got to be careful because it can look cheesy. But just do all white undercoat, and then do the Night Haunt, or then do different contrast paints like blending into each other.
Yeah.
The big thing I'm going to give you is really not that profound of advice here, Carl. It's practice. So not necessarily like practice for techniques purposes, but just try a few things to see.
Do test models.
Do test models, and frankly, like just do it with a sprue.
Yeah.
Like just cut some sprue
You know what
sticks
I've
out,
seen
prime them, and
people do that I kind of liked was getting a box of plastic spoons.
oh yeah, the Turbo Dork people community does this all the time.
You can airbrush it, and what I like about that is a plastic spoon has like smooth contours where the light will hit it from different angles.
Yep.
And so you get to see what it looks like in direct light, from an angle, and like with sort of glare, all like in one shot. And then also down by sort of where the handle is, you've got some sharp edges, and you could even test out different sort of edge highlight looks on the handle. So a plastic spoon is like an interesting way to test.
I think so. They do that with a
different look of colors.
If you go to the Turbo Dork group, all the Turbo Dork people are always like getting theirs and trying them out in spoons. Okay, so I've cut all my blocks, and what I'm going to do now, just with a few of these, honestly, more than anything, just for Brett's sake, is I'm going to clean just a couple of them up. Once you've got sort of your initial cuts, like I said, you're almost inevitably.
Too kind, Zach.
What's that? Yeah, you're almost inevitably, Brett. If we could just do a top down, like actually the zoom on when you get a chance, no rush. You're almost inevitably going to get like these bumpy edges, like we're talking about here. So really, to get those out, either like don't mess around. Don't try to save time. Don't try to save blades. Get your blade nice and sharp. Right, nice and sharp, and then see if you got it sharp enough, and just do. And that actually was not good. Let me see if I can. There we go. So then you're just going to shave off little pieces, and like here's the thing. Before I do another side of this or another one, another block to clean up, I'm gonna sharpen this again. So like just even more aggressively than an airbrush, you just need to stay on top of your blade and make sure it's sharp every time you do a cut. If the cut matters to you, and it matters that it's super clean and pristine, then definitely every time you do it, there you go. You'll get it clean.
Yep.
If you sharpen every time. Let's see. Can I get a second cut out of this without that one actually looks good. Let's find one that. There we go. Can I get a second cut? Maybe I can. That's pretty good. Can I get a third cut?
Dun, dun,
We're learning. I'm learning here too. I want to see how many cuts I can get before this thing starts. Okay. All right. Okay. There's a third cut. So maybe this is making too big a deal. There we go. Okay. Well, look. Hey.
I think it's an interplay between technique and the tool.
This gives a little bit.
Yeah.
Of a
So if you really practiced it a lot, then I think you can get away with a slightly duller.
Did I just level up in the middle of the stream?
Yeah, I think you did.
Like the experience levels went over my head, and I went to level 2 using a blade to cut foam.
That's right.
Okay, cool.
Zach is now level 2. Did you see the little little bubble pop up above his head?
And Brett is right.
You have some skill points to allocate.
I know.
Zach.
Brett is right because you do feel it when you're using this thing. You feel if it's getting dull or any blade on pink foam. And what you feel is like these little vibrations as chunks tear out.
They're not good vibrations.
They're not good. They are not good vibrations. So okay, great. I've got my masonry cut. I'm going to show the next step here. I know Brett wanted to get to be the belle of the ball and show this off and first. But Brett, can you pass me the rock, because we are going to do ever so.
Wait, the rock that I'm working on that I'm not done yet with?
No, not that rock. The rock tool.
Oh, the rock.
Yeah, the rock tool.
The
actual rock.
Chad has decided that the rock's name is Steven. Is that what it was?
Oh, okay. Well,
the rock has a name. Let me scroll back. Yeah. Oh my gosh, where is it? Sylvester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, if you did watch the stream that we had, not this past Wednesday because we did not have a stream, but Wednesday before with Kat on, you will see that the rock was in the studio. It's actually on the wall behind me in one of the containers in that stream, because I had found the rock a few weeks back on one of my walks.
As is the case with Hobby Titans, if you want, there's almost always some kind of Easter egg in the background.
Yeah, almost always. Now, I will say this. When you go and find a rock to do this technique, and Brett's going to demo the technique better than me because...
it's a little larger surface.
Just to hit what he's doing is easier to see. But when you actually look for the rock, it's kind of a sweet spot of rocks that you're looking for. If the rock is too round, it's not going to do anything. If the rock is too jagged, it's going to really put some aggressive chunks in your pink foam. So I would say try that out. Maybe that is what you want. But this rock is, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but this rock is like kind of a combination of sort of bumpy, but not too jagged. And it also has a couple jagged edges that I can like get in there if I want to put a little indentation.
Yeah. Michael Cody's clarified that the reason the rock is called Sylvester is because Sylvester Stallone starred in the movie Rocky.
Oh, Rocky.
Yeah, I think I probably would have gone with like Dwayne, maybe.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
Now
but,
look,
you know, Sylvester's good.
Now look, let's talk a little bit about the rock. The rock is an interesting hobby tool, but Brett and I got to talking, and we were curious about what other hobby tools
Oh my gosh.
do we love that are not painting tools. We said, like, what? Let's talk about some tools we love that you don't use for painting. So
This is my favorite topic, Zach.
and I knew Brett would get excited, and
Zach
when
was, Zach was like, what topic will Brett just talk endlessly about?
yeah, exactly. So we wanted to share our top 5 favorite non-hobby
Yeah.
tools each. I think I should go first.
I think you should go first.
Because I think you are probably like the show here. So like I can be the warm-up act, but I think your tools are a little more interesting than mine.
All right.
So here is Zach's. First up is the Citadel Mold Line Remover. And I've got this thing here, and you guys have seen me. We almost never use this on stream because
we do it ahead of time.
We do this ahead of time.
This is why this is interesting, because these tools are the tools that we use before you guys see the project that we're working on. Typically.
Often, right? Yeah, that's almost always the case.
So do you want to show this?
Yeah, let's. So
Grab it there.
Lots of people have seen this
I'll
tool.
go. Here you go.
Here it is, and it's the thing is, you know, the Citadel tools are so interesting because we all are like, come on, they're doing a cash grab, and you're like, the tool is either
Right.
overpriced, you think, or like,
Yeah.
are they crazy? Like they sell pots for water.
Right.
Right.
This was my impression when I first heard that Citadel was selling a mold line remover tool. I was like, why isn't just like a hobby knife fine? Like I scrape the back edge of a hobby knife or the front edge. Why do I need a special tool for this?
This actually is one we had a personal one that I've been bringing to the studio. This is actually one I picked up. If you're in the Bay Area, Warhammer Los Gatos is now open again, and I picked this up from them. They have awesome stock right now, by the way. And I would say that this tool there's just something about this tool that is just like amazing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weirdly great. I don't know if it's a trade secret, if it's the type of metal they use. You can't cut yourself with this thing. So it's not sharp, but it just somehow works amazingly to remove mold lines. Lots of people are very skeptical of that tool.
Right.
And then like they get it and they're like, what is happening? Okay, now speaking of removing mold lines, the next tool, this was almost like Brett's number 6, and I was like, hey, just give me that one because it's
you love
also
it
in my
too.
top 5.
Yeah, and Meg's in chat too. She loves it.
Yeah, Meg's been using these. I don't know the brand name for these.
I don't think they have a brand name.
But
they're just sanding sticks.
They're sanding sticks. You just get these on Amazon.
Yep.
Did we haven't put the links up for all these tools?
No, we haven't.
But
here you go.
These little sticks, they come in a bunch of different colors, and the colors indicate how thick the grit is.
Right.
On them, and the darker in general, the grit, the thicker, I think is sort of how it works.
I don't know about that.
Well, it goes brown, blue. No, it goes black, blue, and then actually, yeah, then I think brown, and then orange, and yellow. Anyway, they come in a big bag. They feel potentially flimsy.
Right, but that's sort of the point.
That's sort of the point.
They are. They're sort of an advancement on emery boards. So hobbyists, before these things became available, people used to use like nail files, like emery boards for sanding fingernails, like doing manicures, as a way of like sanding sort of a piece of material that's flexible, that has a grit that you can use to sand off plastic models. And these are purpose-built for that. So they have a little bit of cushion. They're foamy. And so they conform to curved surfaces really well. And because there's different grits, you can do, a coarse and then a fine. And it's like $7-8 for like more than you will ever use. You get a pack of like 1,000 of these things.
You bought a bunch.
Yeah.
You gave some to the studio. You gave some to me.
And I still have a bunch.
Yeah. So they've been amazing. It's funny because I was skeptical on them at first. Not skeptical, but just didn't feel like I needed them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've been putting together my Daughters of Cain army for Age of Sigmar, and so many of the little characters are just smaller than I'm used to, and a little more. There's a little more going on than like even like a Eldar Guardian.
Yeah.
On those, so the sticks have been really handy to get in there.
And I'll say one of the things that I like about these, as GW models have gotten more, they've gotten the technology for making them has improved, and so you no longer have these just massive disjoints in the molded plastic. You really do have nice, fine, crisp mold lines, and so it doesn't need a knife. In some cases, in a lot of cases, it doesn't need a knife to remove the mold line.
Right.
Just a little bit of sanding goes a long way.
Yeah.
And
I think that's also the key for the mold line.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, number 3, Zach.
Number 3 is Citadel plastic glue. Not a lot to say here. We've talked about it before. We love it. Again, it's another product where, look, Games Workshop, the cup. I'm not buying the cup. Like literally or figuratively, metaphorically, I'm not buying the painting cup. Right.
Yeah.
At that point, they're not even competing with our hobby companies. They're competing with IKEA.
Yeah.
And so like IKEA's gonna make a better cup.
Right.
Now I understand there's.
You want to show your plastic glue bottle there?
Here's the plastic glue. We know I love it. I haven't even taken this one out of its package yet.
One of the things I love about this is the applicator. I know you use it in a weird way, Zach.
Well, I've used it, by the way, just priming our block here real quick. This block, I went ahead and glued 3 together. And the glue is still a little wet, so there's a little bit of play there in the movement. Typically, by the way, if I'm doing a bunch of these, gonna paint and prime a bunch of these, the way I like to prime is half of something, so I can touch the other half. But for these, I just want to knock them out real quick here. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then I have 3 that I'm gonna leave as singles. And these I'm gonna do the half trick because we just kind of run out. Real quick before I get back to the plastic glue, I will say this. Adrian brought up a good point. He was kind of working with some of the scatter I had, and he said, "Are you gonna paint the bottom half?" I left the bottom half pink. And for these, he's right. You really should. It's a little more work, but it's worth it because then when you go to play, you just grab a handful of these and pretty much just drop them.
You don't have to worry about whether it's face up or face down.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm going to paint most of these with the bottom painted. But with the barricade one, the one that's already in a group of 3, I'm not going to paint the bottom. The plastic glue applicator. I will say again. You were talking about how it's awesome and it comes out of the little top and how nice it works, and it does clog sometimes.
Yeah. So the thing I appreciate about this one is that it's got this very precise applicator, and so if you've ever used like an old bottle of like Tester's plastic cement or something, and it's just got like a squeeze, basically like a toothpaste tube, and you squirt it out, and you're like, how do the glue doesn't go where it's supposed to, and you have this stringy stuff everywhere, and it's like, the cleanup is awkward.
Yeah.
And
which, by the way, Citadel plastic glue also strings less than a lot of others.
It does. It strings less. It still does string.
It still does.
But I think it's mostly due to the fact that you can put a little tiny dab exactly where you want it without lots of extra.
I see. You think it's a physical thing as opposed to a chemical thing.
I don't think it's anything about the formulation of the glue. I think it's more about the design of the applicator.
Okay.
So to me, like, the glue is nothing special. And in fact, I've refilled my bottle of Citadel plastic glue with like off-brand.
Didn't we find out that
generic,
wasn't something go wrong with it?
It was a little bit too thick.
Oh, it didn't work with the applicator.
It wasn't quite the same consistency, so I
Right.
think the applicator, I don't know, there may be something there. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's your number 3.
That's my number 3. Number 4.
Let's look at Zach's number 4.
Woodland Scenics wire cutter. Brett's
That's
using
what we're
it
using
now.
right now.
Look, I'll say this about pink foam and the wire cutter. I've been thinking a lot recently. I've been trying to, just in general, being here with you guys and just for myself, just level up my hobbying. And more and more I've kind of been like, hey, how much more do I want to keep doing with pink foam, with 3D printing out there? And I still think that at the end of the day, pink foam is really an amazing tool.
It is.
And I want to continue working with 3D printing stuff, but I really do want to continue to level up my pink foam because the things you can do are, almost endless. And there's so many tools out there that we haven't even started using. We've been eyeing kind of like the table saw cutter.
Yeah, like a version of this that's like a desk mount with like a permanent, basically just a vertical wire, and you like feed sheets of foam through it.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna pick up one of those at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like pink foam is so inexpensive. It's lightweight. It's durable, and you can do so much with it. And like the material itself is inexpensive. The tools that you work with, like you don't need a printer that is messy and toxic and fails its prints half the time.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I think like I think the technology for for printing, we talk about this a lot. It's just like not quite there. We're still waiting for that. We're still waiting for that like really good printer that mostly works.
We get that question a lot. Everyone's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into 3D printing. Can you? I don't really have time to make like for another hobby. I don't want 3D printing to be my hobby. I want to have a 3D printer to support my Warhammer hobby. Can you recommend a printer that just kind of works out of the box?" And that doesn't really exist yet.
Not yet.
They all are pretty fiddly.
Now, I was talking to Brian about this last night.
But pink foam works just on the box.
Pink foam works fine, and the wire cutter is really.
The wire cutter works.
Is really there. Brian and I were talking about the printer, and Brian says, he said, have you ever interacted with a real paper printer? And they almost never work very well. But even those have gone significantly better.
Yeah. You're talking about like a Hewlett-Packard,
just like a desk jet printer, yeah.
Okay.
And some of those have gone better, and certainly they've gone less expensive.
And I think, PC load letter.
What's that?
That's the Office Space quote. Where he's like,
right.
Goes off on the printer because he's like,
yeah, pretty much.
The printer like has it. Why does it say there's a paper jam when there is no paper jam?
I know, right? And I was telling Brian, like, I think the best printers are the ones that, like, when there's a problem, it walks you through it, and like you open it up, and there's like, here are 3 orange plastic pieces with numbers on them. Check orange plastic piece number 1.
Yeah.
Is that doing this right now? If yes, move on to number 2. Is that doing this? You're like, oh, it is doing that. You're like, okay, move it this way. You move it, and then it's like, and it resets, and then it works, right? The best printers are the ones that are like, hey, our product's gonna suck, it's gonna break, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna make fixing it easy by coloring all of the breakpoints red or orange or yellow.
We've done enough testing to know exactly how this thing fails.
How it fails. We know it's going to fail. We're gonna help you. We're gonna help you fix your own printer.
Yeah, we could make this 10x the price and have this problem not happen. But we know that you probably don't want to pay that much.
Right.
So instead, we're just gonna ship it and tell you how to make it really easy to fix.
Do you think that's gonna happen with 3D printers? Probably, right?
I think it'll be a combination of both. Yeah, I think they'll make the failures easier to recover from, but I think they'll also be innovation where they just don't fail as often.
Right.
Okay, Zach, I'm gonna interrupt you for a sec.
Yeah.
We've got one more tool to go through, but I'm having a really good time making a giant pile of shavings here. How much time do you want me to spend on this? Because I could spend like another hour doing this.
That looks good.
And just be in my happy place.
That looks good.
Okay.
Can we see? Can we get a little view of that?
So here's where I'm at. I've textured up the surface pretty well with the wire cutter. I've just taken really thin slices off here just to add a little bit of texture to it. I've also like added some shape to the top. We had put this like extra little bump here on the side. I've kind of blended where that joins in. So yeah, I think we're like, this no longer looks like a rectangular piece of foam. This is pretty organic. And once we add our once we milliput these gaps and we do use our rock for adding texture, I think this will be
Pass
a pretty
me
good
the
place.
rock. Now look, real quick, we're so tangential here today. I kind of love it. I will just say one thing real quick. I want to give a shout out to somebody in chat. We often in here talk about some of the people in our community. Like we mention our buddy Andrew all the time. And we say, oh, we know some sick painters. There's a guy in the community right now, Bryce Kingman. who is a close friend of ours. We know him. I've known Bryce for 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
This guy is a bonkers painter. He's a solid painter, and what Bryce is extra famous for, he's good all around. But what he's extra famous for is freehand work. This guy goes in and just paints like banners. He also has a quartered Dark Angels army, which is hard to pull off.
That's what I know. That's what I think of when I think of Bryce.
It's dark green and silver, and it's quartered, so you guys know what that means. And it's incredible. Bryce is a crazy painter. His orc army is insane. He goes in and does every little rivet.
And he also it's like 6 months, and then he's like, "Here's my new orc army."
He's painting some Skaven right now for AOS. Super excited to see him in the chat. Great painter. Hopefully post some of his stuff up in the Discord. By the way, what I'm doing, guys, just so you're aware, I did, while I was blabbing about my hobby tools, I did go ahead and finish priming these and starting on the first coat that I'm painting them, which I'm doing this color called Bane Blade Brown.
Okay.
And it's sort of like a tan.
You wanna? Oh, there you go.
And there it is. And this is actually, I don't like the way this is coming on my Badger. I actually need to replace a part of my Badger. It's on its way. It's the nozzle. But that's okay, because this is pretty much just the first base coat here. While I'm doing that, what Brett is doing is a little more interesting.
Okay.
Though.
I'm rocking. I am applying additional texture to this pink foam with our calibrated rock. Zach has carefully selected. Zach, chat wants to know generally how you select a rock.
Well, again,
Do you have a technique or a criteria?
I know they're probably messing with me, but I am happy to answer this question. So I was on a walk with Meg and
spiritual journey, as it were.
No, it was just a morning walk, and around a neighborhood we live near or in, I guess you would say, and a lot of people have rocks in the yards that are like very round and smooth, and then the other one you see are, like I said, are very jagged. So you want to find one that's a little bit in between. Now, in the PDF guide, like I said, the guides that I posted, and I do forget the name of the gentleman who made this guide, but I posted it in the Hobby Titans chat. So just search "post by me" in the Hobby Titans chat on Discord, and you'll see this PDF. And what he actually is like, of course, he's like a model train guy, right? And he says something like, I think it's rail basalt or something like that. He knew the exact style
species of rock.
He had the species of rock named that he said seemed to work best, and he wasn't actually 100% sure that he had identified it correctly. So he actually makes me think maybe he wasn't a model railroad guy, but he did name it.
Was it Sylvester?
Was the person's name Sylvester?
No, was the name of his rock Sylvester?
Oh, no, sorry. He did not name the rock in a
missed opportunity.
Yeah, missed opportunity. But yes, to truly answer the question, folks, you're looking for something kind of round, but not too round.
I mean, this looks like granite to me, if I had to guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe there's no mica. There's no mica in it. Maybe it's not granite.
No mica in it. Oh my God, this guy. Okay, last hobby tool. Oh my gosh,
hobby tool.
Okay,
Zach's top 5. Mine's going to be 3 times as long, Zach.
I know.
I spent so much time talking about
and
top
obviously,
5
folks,
tools.
no surprise. We are sort of interested because we do go back and read the chat. Honestly, more than anything, to make sure everyone's behaving. But we do go back and read sometimes the chats. So kind of curious what hobby tools you guys like. Like, no kidding, right? My last one is the Dremel Stylo. Now, most serious hobbyists have a Dremel, and they talk about their Dremel, and they love their Dremel. I randomly, kind of accidentally bought this one called a Stylo.
Yeah, you want to show it?
Yeah, it's just smaller than a normal Dremel, and just fits in your hand better. And it is really more for like a hobbyist.
Yeah, you don't really use this for like cutting so much as just basically mold line removal. Right?
Yeah, you can. I mean, any of the normal Dremel stuff will work on it.
Right.
But
it's a lower power, lighter weight, smaller.
Yeah, and its power still gets up there.
That's good.
But it's enough I need. Yeah, like I'm not going to use this for home improvement projects.
Right.
And it's not for that, right? It's for hobbying, and so it's honestly perfect for a hobbyist. I like it. It's lighter. It has a grip that's like more of something a hobbyist wants. You know, the normal Dremel, I feel like I'm holding like a LaCroix can.
I think that's my favorite thing about this is how small it is and it fits well in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feels a little bit better than a normal Dremel.
Yeah.
Stylo is actually the French word for pen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Adrian has informed us that this word stylo is the French word for pen, which I guess makes sense because it kind of feels like a pen.
Sort of feels like a pen.
Yeah. Anyway, there we go. Brett, I know you have been
No, I like all of those.
begrudgingly been like, come on, let me get to my
Not at all.
favorite hobby tools. Wait, before we do real quick, I just want to tell folks what I'm about to do next.
Yeah.
I am about to move on to my second color, which is Karak Stone. And you can see, actually, here, I'll show you guys real quick because I'm going to go through these while Brett's doing his thing. So it's Baneblade Brown, then it is Karak Stone, and this is like 90% coverage, and then this is going to be like 90% coverage over that. And then Terminata Stone, we're actually going to kind of do, mostly I've been doing almost like in the middle. I think 90% coverage is even strong. It's probably even a little bit less than that. You can see I'm leaving a lot of the dark underneath. Under there. So we're about to move on to Karak Stone, then Terminata Stone. Okay. After that, we're going to do Bane or Ushanti Bone. That warms things up a little bit more. And then after that, we're going to do my favorite Minotaur. This is actually Snow White, believe it or not, but Skull White would be okay as well. So there is a lot going on, and if you're looking at these and saying, boy, his coverage isn't that good, no worries, because we've got 4 more layers of paint that we're putting on it.
Yeah, we've got lots of steps to go.
We also, on both what Brett and I are doing, are going to show you guys a little bit of airbrush weathering with just normal paint. And so we're going to use some greens and yellows here.
Yeah. So make it look a little mossy.
Yeah, we have sort of like a sweet here. And this is actually the color, one of the best color matches that we have on the Titans terrain because it really matches the grass on their board. So we'll both be doing a little bit of this to kind of weather things.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, take it away, Zach. I'm going to get started on this Milliput. What I'm doing here, so we did the rock texture on the, we textured the foam with the rock first before doing the Milliput because I was concerned that if I'm applying Milliput in these gaps and then put the rock over top to texture, that the rock would, potentially stick to the Milliput and pull it off. So I'm actually going to do the Milliput after having done the texture. So
which I think, like, just in general makes sense, right?
Yeah. So Milliput, if you're not familiar, is a 2-part epoxy sculpting putty, similar to green stuff, but it comes in a very large tube, and so it's sort of more affordable. I think people kind of generally agree that Milliput is like better for gap filling. And green stuff is better for sculpting. So if you're like into making your own miniatures by hand, like sculpting them,
green
stuff is the better tool.
I did learn something this morning you might be interested in. By experience, I learned this because while I was I went to that Warhammer Los Gatos and nearby where we live, and just kind of like I've been telling folks around here, they had a fire right before COVID, like maybe 6 months before COVID or a year.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of shut the building down. It wasn't them that had a fire, it was a nearby restaurant.
Oh.
And it affected them. And so then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so this store opened and was open for about a year and then has been closed for like two and a half, 3 years maybe. And I was thinking it might just go. I didn't even know if it was going to come back. But anyway, I'm telling this because they have like this weird amount of back stock in that their stock has been frozen in time for like 3 years.
Like year and a half old models, they just have like full stock in
them. Exactly. Things people like the meta has like changed multiple times around and just like it's kind of interesting. And I picked up some liquid green stuff, which is something that I've used before that Citadel makes, and I think it is actually milliput.
Yeah.
It's pretty similar to milliput.
Okay.
I think it's kind of like their version of milliput.
Yeah.
It's already one. It's not a two-part. You don't have to mix it. But the consistency felt very similar to me.
Yeah. So I mostly just use milliput. It'll dry hard. You can sand it and cut it easily once it's dry with a knife or with the sanding sticks or anything like that. And so it's good. It's good consistency. It sort of dries like the consistency of resin. In theory, there's a bunch of different grades of it. This is the white, which is sort of their super fine grade. The standard grade is a yellow. That's also really fine. I'm not sure.
Does it?
You don't really need the super fine.
Okay. You know what's very funny, Brett? I just bought a pack of milliput, and I was like, Brett, you're going to be proud of me. I'm going to use milliput on my daughter's cane because I really want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Just bought the pack, took it into my house, lost it. No clue where it is. So I think I'm just going to order another pack. I don't have time.
It's like $10, right?
I don't think I have time to look for, and like it'll be there one day.
And then it'll show up.
Doesn't
really go bad.
I just like, I mean, come on. It's so irritating when that happens.
One of the other differences between milliput and green stuff is milliput with water will sort of dissolve itself. It'll get soft in the same way that like clay, if you've ever worked with like pottery clay, if you add water to it, it gets soft. And so, and water also sort of makes it not stick to your tools. So I've got a little pot of water here. I'll dip my tool in the water and like take a little chunk off of my blob of putty here. And then I can apply it to the model or the gap that I'm trying to fill. And this tool that I'm using here, it's got two ends. One sort of a spatula. Here, can you put this in your zoom here? So it's got two ends. It's got a sort of a pointy spade end and like a rounded scoop end. And this is just like a sculpting spatula. I got this one from Micromark. And this is a good segue because it is it's my number 5 favorite non-painting hobby tools. So I use this for milliput application. I'm jumping ahead to number 5 here. Well, I guess I'll just work through the list backwards.
I don't know that my list was in like favorite order.
Favorite order? Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. Is yours? I don't know.
I don't think so either. Yeah. But yeah, I use this all the time. I don't remember why I got it. I think I got it when I started getting into like gap filling as like a thing that I cared about when I was sort of early on in my hobby career. But I find that I use it for so many things. So I use it for obviously applying milliput like this, but I also use it for applying basing materials. I also use it for applying decals. Just having like a stiff, like it just isn't flexible. It doesn't break like a hobby knife. It's really sort of thick, sturdy metal. I'm not worried about it getting dull or about it cutting me. It's just like a nice, good metal thing that I can use to like push hobby products around. That I can use to, like I said, apply decals. It's like I found that it's like a good generic tool for a lot of different things. And I find myself reaching for it at times that I never would have thought when I first picked it up.
I mean, it obviously looks like a dental tool, right?
It looks like a dental tool, but it doesn't have any like sharp points on it, in the same way that dental tools can be a little scary.
I know. What is up with dentists? Why are they doing that to us all the time?
I don't know. All right, so that was number 5. Let me go back to the list. So moving up from number 5, number 4, Tamiya modeling knife. So this is like a basic, hobby knife. I'm gonna give this again to you, Zach, so you can put it on your zoomed area. But the thing that it makes this amazing is the little plastic tab on the back end. So I had no idea what that was when I got it. And then the first time I used it and I set it down and it didn't roll away because that little tab kept it from rolling. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why don't all hobby knives have this?
It's the little things.
It's the little things. And so this is why this is on the list. It's like, Tamiya is a great brand for hobby tools, but there's nothing special about this knife in terms of like the blades or the ergonomics of the handle or any of that. It's literally just, wow, it has a little tab that keeps it from rolling away. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
Why don't more people do that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
like it can't be that hard.
It's not that hard.
But you know what? Like, not to interrupt you, but I will say I found a hobby knife. I forget the brand here that because the default is X-Acto, right?
Yeah.
And there's one I found that I like, Zona, and honestly, it's just the feel of the.
Oh, sure.
It's
It's
just
got a
the feel.
rubberized grip.
It's got like a rubberized grip.
Yeah, I used to have one of these as well. The grip ergonomics are super important.
Yeah.
And this guy's a plastic handle, which makes it just soft enough. It's not like like a metal handle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a nice plastic or rubberized handle is important. I found that this like little tab on the side is another thing that I'm like, wow,
The tab's pretty cool.
that's genius.
But it's so simple.
It's a simple thing. It's the
Yeah.
little things,
Yeah.
just like you said.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Moving up from the bottom. Number 3, Tamiya pin vise. See a theme here. So this is my pin vise. It's got a rubber grip. Speaking of rubberized grips, so I think there's a lot of pin vices out there that I think a pin vise is an essential hobby tool. If you're going to do magnetization, if you're going to work with any kind of forge rolled resin models that require pinning, hence the name pin vise. It's basically just a drill, but you hold it, you grip the rubberized piece in your fingers, and you pull it back into the palm of your hand with your fingers to kind of keep it stable. And this back side is on a swivel, so you can pull it back into your palm, and you can rotate the drill bit by hand, and the rubber. So that's where the rubberized grip help comes into play. And then you just get one of these little drill bit sets. This one happens to be made by Dremel, but you can get any kind of one you want. And then this has an interchangeable collet, and you can put a bunch of different drills in here, and you can very easily put, and very accurately and precisely put small holes in plastic models for, like you said, things like magnets and pins. If you need to, this used to be a bigger deal when pewter models were a thing. Because, attaching an arm to a Space Marine torso where the arm was a separate bit than the torso and they're both made out of metal, like the super glue would not have a lot of surface area, and the glue didn't stick to pewter very well.
Right.
And so you'd often basically drill a hole into the torso and a hole into the shoulder, and you'd put a little length of, quarter-inch length of paper clip or something in that across the two holes,
Right.
and it would pin the model together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've never really felt the need to pin.
Yeah.
I hear people talk about the process. I know, like, you and I are both Tau players. I know, like, old Crisis suits.
Yep.
The older model, not the most recent, but the older one. I know people would frequently
ankles.
pin the ankles.
Yeah, the ankles, yeah.
So I think that I've never felt the need to do it, though. But that doesn't mean that maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think it's a technique that is becoming less relevant, but the pin vise is still useful for things like we said, magnetizing.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking I'll do an entire episode just on magnetizing and pinning using the pin vise, basically just an episode on like how to use a pin vise and what it's good for. So that might come still.
Yeah, we definitely have some tool centric episodes and content we want to put out.
Yeah.
So definitely.
But there's a lot of pin vices out there. I like this one.
I forget the one. I think I might have the Army Painter one. It's red, if anyone knows, and it's nice.
Yeah.
I like it too. Yours has like the screw. You screw the top off and put the things in it. And
yeah,
stuff,
the collets are stored in sort of the handle.
Yeah, so
that's pretty common.
Yeah, it's yeah, they're a good tool.
It's a useful tool. It's weird. We recently moved into a new house, so we've been doing a lot of home improvement projects. And I've weirdly found myself grabbing the pin vise to use for like various home improvement projects at times. Like we were mounting new cabinet knobs and pulls in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, I need to drill a pilot hole, but I don't want the drill bit to wander because I care very precisely where this cabinet knob ends up.
No, you know, that's funny. That happens a lot. Like honestly, like my little Dremel, same thing. Like I'm like, I really just need to like sand this thing down ever so slightly.
Right.
I don't need to like pull out. We have like the little belt sander, not the belt sander, but the palm sander.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I really don't need to pull that out. Like, and so many times, I feel that, like your hobby tools are just like useful.
They're so useful.
Yeah, it's always nice.
All right, moving on to number 2, the USA Gundam single blade nipper. This is just like a sprue cutter, right? So here we go.
What makes this nipper so
right?
So good
nippy?
at nipping?
So this is a new acquisition for me. There are several that sort of fall into this category of like high quality single blade nippers, and they are.
Oh man, I think I could listen to Brett use the word nipper.
They're they're all sort of in the like $30 to $50 range. So I was like a little bit hesitant, especially since like.
Can I see them?
Yeah, sure. Here you go. And I'll show you guys like. Typically, I also want to do an episode on nippers.
Episode on nippers.
Like this is the reason, and I have these in my box because
that's where they all went.
Yeah. So
because they're your personal property.
Yeah.
At some point, Brett had like all of these out, and I thought we were like flush with clippers, and I took a set home, and then I took 2 sets home, one for me and one for Meg. I spent the last week or so working from home, and wasn't really in the studio much. And Adrian's like, where are all the clippers? I'm like, what are you talking about? There were like 5 pairs of clippers in the studio. I know that they were all Brett's.
Yeah. So, So this set here is like electrical clippers, right?
This is like Ace. It's from Ace Hardware.
Yeah, and
some hardware store,
they'll do the job. They'll remove plastic bits from sprues. This set is a set of side cutters, and so they've basically taken, instead of having a point that looks like this, it has a point that looks like this. So like the 2 points come together offset all the way over to one side, and so in theory you can get like a flush cut with these. But they both have the same problem, which is that if you have a nipper that has 2 sharp edges and they're meant to come together on a line, have line contact, it like never works out that way, especially for an inexpensive tool, mass-produced tool like this. The points will never come together exactly on the same line. So they'll be slightly offset. You'll get like where they finally do come together and the cut is made, they'll end up like, with material kind of squished out to one side or the other. It just doesn't result in a nice, smooth, flush cut. And so what a single blade nipper does is it has one cutting edge, and then the second surface is flat. And so you've got a cutting edge pushing into a flat surface, and you end up with and then obviously it's made out of a really high quality steel that's really sharp, and it also has a depth thing so that you're not jamming this super hyper sharp cutting surface, like jamming it into this like super hard backing. The other side of the nipper, it's got a depth set screw, so you can set sort of where it bottoms out. And you set it to bottom out just before it makes contact. The end result is a sprue cutting experience second to none. It is so incredibly satisfying to remove a bit from a sprue with a high quality set of nippers like
Look,
this.
I will say this. A good analogy in the hobby world, frankly, would probably be the Sotar.
The airbrush.
I feel, what I will say about this thing, just holding it in my hands, looking at the parts, looking at how it works, the feel, maybe even a better analogy would be in cooking. This is not a flex, but I have a Le Creuset pot.
Yeah.
And once I was gifted a Le Creuset pot, I only really ever bought Le Creuset.
Yeah.
For the most part, and there's just there's love put into this product.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about like the Sotar. When I'm holding the Sotar, when I'm cooking with Le Creuset or like something like this, I can just, you put this in my hands, Brad, and I was like, oh man, somebody loved making this, and here it is. I'm like sold. I'm gonna get a pair. I can just tell.
So there's a couple brands that do this. This one is made by USA Gundam Store. There's another one called God Hands. That one's on the more expensive end.
Oh my gosh, God Hands.
I know, it's a little ostentatious.
They are not even messing around.
The name is a little bit much. But Redgrass Games, the company that makes the wet palette
we
that
like
we
Redgrass
use,
Games. Yeah.
they have a single-bladed nipper. Yeah, that's the main thing you want to search for is single-bladed nipper.
I don't really want to hand it back to you, but
Okay. All right, cool. I talked a lot about nippers there. The last item on this list is Tommy Extra Thin Cement. Oh my gosh. So this is what it looks like. It's plastic cement. You had plastic glue on your list.
yeah.
This is also a new acquisition for me in the last few months. You've seen on the stream that I've been building and starting to paint Black Templars. All of the Black Templars have been assembled with this stuff, and it's similarly it's like the experience of satisfaction you get from cutting parts off of sprues with single-bladed nippers. Like I get that same level of satisfaction gluing parts together with this with this glue. It is so incredibly satisfying. It's a completely different approach to gluing models together. What I find myself doing, it's like a very low viscosity glue. And so what I find myself doing is I will push the two parts together, and then while holding the two parts together dry fit, I just take the applicator and just touch it to the crevice between the two parts, and the liquid cement wicks into the joint. And you just hold it there for a second. There's no stringiness. It's not stringy at all. Like we were talking before about how the Citadel seems to be somewhat less stringy than other plastic glues. Mm-hmm. This is not stringy at all. There's zero stringing. And because it's so low viscosity, it wicks right into the joint. It only goes into the joint. There's no extra material. It doesn't get your model gummy. It doesn't squirt out and bulge. It's like the model, when it's done, there's no sign that they're even separate pieces, and you don't have to be careful about it either. So it's great.
Good glue is a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I've been enjoying the AK. The AK, we haven't talked about super glue here today, but the AK super glue is really nice. And honestly, in many cases, what you're saying I think is accurate, and that's why we like the GW one and this one, where it almost comes down to what is the delivery?
Right.
How have they made delivery?
Right. There's these quality of life features.
Yeah. Look, I think that I would say this to folks at home. I've never not followed up on a Brett product recommendation and been like, what is he talking about? I'm almost always like, wow, this is awesome. This glue I have used once. I think the first time you were having it, I tried it on something, and I have not bought it on my own for some reason, and I should, because I'm putting a ton of models together right now. Yeah. And frankly, I hate it. So anything that can make it feel better is big. And I also think at the end of the day, a big part of what makes somebody feel like they're what makes somebody a good hobbyist is a tool. Tools are big. A lot of people want to say that it's more skill and stuff, and it's both, right? But tools just get like a frustrating tool is gonna drain you.
Yeah, I'll say two things. Basically the same thing, but from two different paradigms. Marie Kondo with inspiring joy or sparking joy.
Oh yeah, does it
using a tool, does it spark joy? That's amazing. Similarly, David Allen, of Getting Things Done fame, have you ever read his book?
No.
Okay. he's a like personal productivity guru.
Okay.
But like he's in the way that like 30 years ago, personal productivity was like not a thing, and he sort of like wrote the original book on it.
Oh, is it a MLM or a pyramid scheme? Or?
No, but you know, I know you're disappointed at that.
I'm disappointed.
Anyway, a lot of his advice about how do you sort of motivate yourself to do tasks that you're not excited about, and it was all just about surrounding yourself with tools and apparatus and processes that are satisfying to use. So his thing was filing. Like at the time, it was like, how do you file things? This is before digital, people like made digital to-do lists.
Yeah.
His thing was always like, get yourself a filing cabinet that is satisfying to use, where the drawers slide really smoothly, where the handle is like comfortable and satisfying in your hand. It's made out of like a nice solid wood. It's like painted or stained some like very satisfying color to you.
Yeah.
Like his thing was always like, if there's this part of this process that's really painful, i.e. like filing your paperwork, like just surround, like as much as possible, make the tools and processes like really satisfying to get into. And anyway, we were talking about like nippers and glue, and I feel like this conversation made me think of that.
Yeah, let me show folks.
That's a long tangent. Yeah,
no, that's good. We wanted to talk about tools, and look, I learned a lot. Certainly, I definitely want to get the single blade nippers. If we want to, I'll show folks how I painted these here now, because I did go through much of this, and in fact, Brett, I gotta say, I'm like almost done now. No rush, but just so you know. Okay, so here they are pre-weathered. Now they are how I painted these. Right, we went through the colors already, and I just want to point out that the last color I added here was just the white, right? And again, we kind of talk about how thin white airbrush paint, like I'm always talking about the Minotaur Skull and Snow Whites, how they just kind of tint things. But you do want to be careful over like a light color like bone, and frankly like any color, because what I'm sort of trying to avoid is having people look at something and say, oh, that looks white, right? And I'm okay with this. I'm going to weather down, but you can see like less white here on the sides, of course, because I want less highlights there, and then a little bit more up here. So the white was applied mostly in corners, but we left some spots empty just to show like natural lighting happening. Okay, now
cool.
I'll scroll up here real quick because we did have
we had a couple super chats.
We did have a few super chats. I'll let Brett work here. Now, some of these super chats are from some folks that we know personally. So we've got another one from Bridger. He says, we should all super chat now that Hobby Titans have a bot. Thanks, Bridger. We appreciate that. We don't want to feel forced, but we do love our new bot. So thank you. Also, thank you, Matthew. Hey, he says, should we? And then Megan says, don't tell me how to live my life, Bridger. Well, look, guys, I appreciate you having this conversation that donated $15 to us. But please don't feel obligated to. But also, thank you for doing that. Now, a real super chat. Thank you, Caldorf, as always. Hey, Hobby Titans, great content. Always great to see the tricks behind your trade. Thanks for sharing the tool tips. Wish I had more hobby time. Yeah, well, that's the ultimate tool.
Is time.
It's time, right? Trying to figure out ways to have more time. I will say this, speaking of Citadel products, and they're not the only ones who do this, and you can make your own solution to this as well. But I will say that they're kind of like a case that they sell. Megan actually got it for me for Christmas, maybe last year or year before. Yeah. That is like the project case.
Yeah.
It was like the project travel case. I will say that they do a good job on that. You can also just get like bins and stuff from IKEA, right. But I'm probably not, call it off. You didn't ask, so I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. But I do think that the idea of putting everything you need for a project in one bin, and being able to like use the lid to work on is big.
This is your jam, right?
Yeah, and to the point where it can be a little pricier. So I understand that of course that's can be an issue, right? But if I can afford to do it, I will even rebuy paints.
Yeah.
If I'm using Moot Green on a terrain project, I'm using Moot Green on an army, I'm going to have two Moot Greens.
because you have a box for the terrain project and a box for the army, and a bottle of the paint in each of those boxes.
In each of those boxes.
Yeah.
Now I don't necessarily do tools that way.
Right.
And brushes, but
you could
it helps with time. The biggest thing is
set
just
up and tear down.
Yeah, if you can like just have half an hour. Think about what you can accomplish, folks at home who are time deprived for hobbying.
Right.
Think about what you can accomplish in 30 minutes if all you are doing is accomplishing
The thing.
like going straight to hobbying.
Right. If you didn't have to set up, you didn't have to like tear down.
Maybe fill up a cup of water. That's it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. This is the main advantage of having a dedicated hobby space as well.
But in absence of that, the project
box, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically a hobby space in a box that you can set up on your kitchen table.
Right. You're going to do your airbrushing all like one weekend and stuff like that. But after that, like just that little box that you just like sit down and boom, knock it out. 30 minutes real quick. Kind of big to be able to work that way.
Okay. I am. Yeah. Thank you, Caldorf.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very close to being done here. I'm basically done with the Milliput.
Now, what we are going to see is, speaking of putting love into things, when Brett's rock is done compared to the one I did actually this morning for the show to show you guys and as a demo, it's going to look a lot better.
Well,
it's not going to have any creases, right?
Well, you did yours in probably 15 minutes, and I'll have done mine in 2.5 hours. So that's a thing.
But the 2.5 hours is the better move. If you speaking of time, if you've got the time, right? So yeah. Okay, let's do.
Do you want to do some airbrushing?
Yeah,
on this
sure.
guy?
Yeah.
Are you done with those?
I am.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna go.
No, not quite. We're gonna weather.
Weather.
Okay. I'm gonna get weathering when you basically get weathering.
I am. So, at the risk of oversharing, I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I'm about to experience some low blood sugar.
Oh no!
So I'm gonna mute myself. Go eat some
Rice Krispie treats.
Some Rice Krispie treats, and then while Zach does some airbrushing.
Yeah, just gonna quick prime here with. Oh, this is Brett's airbrush. Oh my gosh, I didn't even feel that it was your Iwata. I was just like cruising along here. Yeah, so no surprise here. Just basic priming here on the on this. Remember, cool thing about Airbrush primer is that if you're using Airbrush primer, you can prime directly on pink foam. We had somebody actually ask this us the other day, or I don't know, a couple weeks back. And so I don't know. I like that because frankly I kind of hate using rattle cans now, if I'm honest. They smell weird. You got to go outside. You got to go somewhere weird to do it. We go in the parking lot out here and like we're out there priming and like accountants and lawyers are walking by looking at us like we're weirdos, which, you know. In a sec, we also do have some fan stuff, which I'm excited about. Oh my gosh, fan stuff was insane. Fan stuff was insane this week. Now we did not do a show this Wednesday, so it has been over a week. But oh my man, like it was crazy. There was entirely too much. And I will say this: if you submitted something and you were like, "Oh man, I think this is really good," and I hope that the guys show it, and we don't show it, you're probably right. It probably was really good. There was just calls that I had to make, so it wasn't like 20 fan stuff things. You want to look at some fan stuff?
Yeah.
This is maybe the least interesting thing we're going to do for the rest of the stream is me priming this. So. Okay.
Well, I guess I'll just make one comment about the priming over not yet dry Milliput.
Oh yes, please. Actually,
we were talking about this before the show. Yeah. Milliput is, as a two-part epoxy, it doesn't need to air dry in the sense that there's nothing like evaporating from it that needs to, there's no solvent that needs to get out of the material for it to dry. So it's totally fine to, as long as you're not planning on disturbing the Milliput and you're careful with it, you can prime and paint over it before it's fully dry.
Not disturb. Do not disturb the Milliput.
Do not disturb. That's right. Okay.
You mean like any kind of physical disturbance?
Yes.
Like bump. Yeah.
That's right. All right, let's take a look at some fan stuff.
Crazy amount of awesome stuff this week.
All right,
we're
here
gonna have
we
to go
go.
through a few cycles because almost everything in here is like a cycle's worth of talking about. Oh, this Tyranid. Brady kind of did what we have been doing with Turbo Dork recently. He just did like lightly. It looks like blue raspberry on the top. I was looking at this earlier.
Yeah, using it as a highlight color.
Almost kind of using it very sparingly, which I'm really into. This Necron's incredible. Great Fire Stew, more Necrons. Yeah.
So many cool opportunities with Necrons. Yeah, that's great.
And new Necrons like suddenly cool again.
What is that model? Is that like a Dreadnought conversion?
Yeah, it's a Dreadnought conversion from Gravehammer. This guy is great. He has an awesome Instagram account, and super encourage checking him out. Just some amazing Chaos Terminators. Honestly, like,
Wow,
you know
look
what?
at all the great Chaos content.
As I'm watching stuff go by, I'm realizing that like there's actually not a ton to say. Everything just looks amazing.
Wow, look at that
There's
gas.
just a lot of amazing
color palette.
models.
Man, orange and teal is such a great
It's good.
color combination.
Well, look, we've got a guy around here that only paints his armies orange and teal.
Yeah, but I feel like with Adrian, it's like mostly teal with a little bit of orange, and that was the other sort of flipped. And I really like that.
That was the flip of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff, good stuff today.
What model is that?
That is.
Oh my god.
That is one of the old.
Is that Black Mage from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, and that previous model, by the way, is I think what are they called? They're like the leaders of the Drukhari.
Archon?
It's an Archon, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Siscaro art, lots of more shots of that.
Yeah.
Just crazy great stuff.
Skeleton Boys.
Skeleton Boys.
Wow.
These trees.
Terrain.
Brett, our funky TV we can't exactly see, but they did like this kind of purplish color, which is, I don't know, very interesting. I thought it was really cool looking. There's Soups, nice job. I had to clip one of them, Soups, because your picture was kind of long, so I had to clip one out. But awesome cloaks. We have some cloaks coming up on stream.
Yeah.
That we're gonna be doing. And actually, as we go through this one more time, it's very good that Brett and I got to do this Friday stream because we were realizing that we're about to have we would have had 5 streams where it wasn't you and me, right? Because this upcoming Wednesday, I'll be joined right before American Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before, I'll be joined by Adrian, and we're going to be painting some tanks for
Thanksgiving.
Giving, of course, right? So you can see me, Adrian, and I then, and then after that, I think.
Kat and I are doing cloaks?
Yeah, Kat's going to come back, and you and her are going to do some cloaks.
Look at these Chaos Terminators.
Amazing.
Oh
the stuff is amazing this week.
I love the highlighting
honestly,
there.
not joking. I know it sounds like I say this every week, but not joking. I feel like we could have. I feel like I could have had double the amount of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just very good stuff.
I love all the black rims I'm seeing on these bases too.
Oh boy, you and
gosh.
Adrian are going to be furious at me for the daughters army. Oh, this is like a Star Wars model, just crazy. Yeah. More pictures in the Discord on this, by the way. I'm always kind of trying to pick which one I think is maybe the best one.
Yeah. There's the Archon.
Yeah, there's the Archon again. Crazy nice stuff. This little guy from Final Fantasy, right?
That's cute. Is there a Final Fantasy miniatures game, or is this like a Final Fantasy themed model for like a D&D game or something?
I have no clue.
Here's my question: is that an orc on that bike?
No, it's
just a Space Marine with like a. The colors are a little weirder in a monitor. I can't tell if it's like a bronze or a gold or a green helmet.
Yeah.
Must be more like a metallic.
It's not an orc.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Anyway,
it looked amazing.
Great.
I love the weathering on it.
Great stuff.
Yeah. And some eliminators. Love me some eliminators.
Yeah. Soup's eliminators.
Imperial
Very
Fist
cool.
eliminators.
Now,
cool.
Amazing.
That's great.
I could have done double that.
Yeah.
Seriously. I had to make some calls.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Now.
Yeah. What's our next step?
Well,
should I airbrush the big one while you work on weathering the little ones?
Yeah, that's a good move. So you are going to be doing your browns. If you want to walk people through the the paints there you're going to be using.
Yeah. So the browns that we've picked out, it's a process. So we've got 5 colors here. And we're going to sort of do the first 3, Dryad Bark, Mournfang Brown, and then this Reaper color, Barbarian Flesh, before we do the greens. So we're going to start with these. These are going to sort of be the base color. Then we're going to do some greens for like moss and weathering in the middle. And then we're going to touch up those greens after the fact with XV88 and then again this other Reaper color, Harvest Brown. And that will sort of give us we'll do these at the tops and at the bottoms as sort of highlights. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Zach, what are you going to be working on here?
Just doing a quick airbrush, little airbrush maintenance here, real fast.
Oh, okay.
Because we've got the time, and but as I put this guy back together, I'm ready to move on here already. Nothing too serious, and I'm going to be doing the weathering process now. Let me actually, Brett, if we can go to Glam Cam real quick. I'll kind of show what's going on here. So. You can see kind of the greens that we're pulling out here come from both the ground and from the building. Mm-hmm. And up close, you see these are very like yellowish greens that these guys Titans have designed here. So what we're doing is almost like you would do glow effect. We're kind of almost emulating that process here with our weathering. So we're not using a wash. Which is nice because it keeps it pretty controlled. Mm-hmm. But we are kind of going from like dark into light. So I'll demo this here. What I'll do is I'll demo it step by step here on one, and then I'll just go ahead and knock the others out while you're doing that.
Sure.
So I'm starting off with a dark green. In this case, it's Citadel Castellan green. And I'll demo for you guys on the barricade, on the 30 rock barricade here. And I'm going to pick a few spots. In particular, if you are going to do this for your Titans terrain, there are 2 things that I'd recommend. One, have it come up from the ground a couple times. So I'm going to do one there. I'm going to come over here on this corner. Anytime you show it wrapping around a corner, it elevates the look. Here's the other thing that elevates the look. Anytime we have something on the top that kind of comes down the side. Okay, you can see like that's it. Like right away. By the way, you don't have to weather. You could stop. You could stop here, right? And these are gonna look nice on the board. They match the terrain, and you don't have to weather. So the weathering I do think adds a little bit though. So there is our streak. I've got 1, 2, I've got one back here. I'm going to put one more streak kind of off on this corner, coming down here. This one will even be starting to head onto the top of the block a little bit, be kind of a bigger one. So there's our first color. Don't make these too big, but don't also make them too small because we're going to be putting other colors inside of them. Really, this is like a weathering effect that is literally done almost, well, okay, I shouldn't say literally and almost in the same context, but it is done almost in the same way we would do like a glow effect. It's just more random as opposed to, coming from a jet engine or something like that, and being like nice and rounded. So
yeah.
After Castellan green is Strachan green. This is a little bit more of like a muted medium green here.
We did an effect like this similar to this when we were doing the Industrial Disaster series.
Yes.
When we were sort of showing where moss would grow on concrete over time. This is basically the same idea, right?
I think, yeah. Did we use washes for that?
We used washes for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
similar theory, I guess.
Similar theory, yeah. So coming up here from the side, kind of living inside of where the dark Strachan green was painted, our dark green. Coming around here, this one's going to hug the ground a little bit closer, so the brown's up top. And also, by the way, a good first airbrush use here. If you want to just hop in and say, "Cool, trying to get my airbrush chops, feel a little more comfortable," stuff like this, kind of nice and easy on terrain. And then free spraying, really. This is kind of like we said earlier, our friend Bryce is good at freehand. This is free spray. You're just like randomly spraying weathering on a rock. Can't get any easier than that.
That's great. I love it. Now, Zach, this is taking me a long time because this needle is so small. How do you feel if I were to switch over to the Badger?
You can. The Badger's acting a little funky. Like I said, I need the nozzle.
It's acting up?
Give it a shot. I think it'll probably be. It'll probably be okay. Yeah.
What symptoms were you experiencing?
There's something with the nozzle. You're gonna feel it's like. It might not feel like it's coming out super great either. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, both of these two airbrushes are having flow issues.
I see.
So honestly, this is the one we might check and see how that works. Otherwise,
this is way better.
We might weirdly have to use it so far. Okay.
This is way better.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I honestly like. I like the Iwata, but I find that in some ways I would almost like say the Iwata is a great one to start with. But I almost feel like between the Badger and the Sotar, I don't need the Iwata.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, that's two airbrushes, right?
The the Iwata feels like it's somewhere between the two.
Yeah. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, real quick here, this is where our weathering gets a little interesting because now we're actually going to use yellow.
All right. Let's see here.
And this is Averland Sunset, which is like a golden, deep kind of yellow. And again,
so this is like a highlight for your organic.
Yeah, I don't super think about this as turning the green yellow. So same thing when we play around with white and we highlight with white with an airbrush. It's not that we say, oh, I want this thing to be white. We say, oh, I want this thing to be lighter. And with yellow on green, we're saying, oh yeah, we want it to be lighter, but in a way that also
in a warm way.
In a warm way, and true, yeah, in a way that makes it more yellow green, but not yellow, but yellow green. Okay, so there we go. There's now our yellow.
Zach, can you hand me the squeeze bottle?
Yes, and then last but not least, the color we're going to use is this is a Reaper, and it's candlelight yellow. I thought I had Phalanx yellow, which is the Citadel super bright yellow, but I don't. I guess it's at home. Excuse me. And the candlelight yellow is just what you want anyway. Just some kind of bright yellow is like what we're going for here.
Cool.
Okay, now when I get ready to do this, we do have one more thing we want to show, kind of announce today. It's pretty low key. I'm gonna grab this back from you.
Yep.
Which is that we have started an Instagram account.
Yes.
So you can follow us on Instagram at hobby.titans. And please do. We're very excited about this. Instagram is where all the cool hobby kids hang out, to be honest with you. We're excited about being on there. We hope to be very active on there in a way that goes beyond just our own posts. We are really actively seeking out other other Instagram painters, and we want to feature their work on the stream at somewhat regular intervals. Maybe do that as a segment a couple times a month, where we say like, here's an awesome Instagram to follow, and we kind of talk about what it is that we did, what it is that we liked. And I'll be honest, there are already some projects I've seen on Instagram that we are very excited about replicating here on the channel.
Yeah. This is something we want to do. If like we see something cool on Instagram, we want to sort of try to reproduce it, or like, hey, this is like a thing we saw that we liked, and we're gonna try to like put our spin on it.
Well, Instagram and YouTube, frankly. Yeah. And they work a little different, because what's cool about the Instagram community with hobbying is just that the level is very high. There are so many high-level painters and hobbyists on YouTube that it's crazy.
On Instagram.
Instagram. Well, both, frankly, but yes, I mean Instagram. Thank you. And so we're excited to kind of try some of the things that we've seen people do. We have one in mind that I definitely think we're going to get to in pretty early in the new year. So yeah, if you are an Instagram person, please follow us there. We're excited about it.
I think I just ran into that thing you were talking about.
Yeah, it's doing something goofy. So it's something I do need to check on. Well, I have the nozzle coming. I'm hoping that's it.
Airbrushes are hard.
They can be, and the Patriot is like the opposite of that. Normally.
It's supposed to be
easy.
Easy.
Yeah. But if you want, I have finished our weathering here.
Yeah.
So we can do. I can do this here with the Sotar or.
No, I think I'm making it work.
Okay.
When I get these like little mini clogs and I don't want to and I'm either almost done, I don't want to completely tear it down. I just do this thing where I like start the air, but then pulse the paint, and sometimes that'll just get enough paint out without having to completely tear it down. Because once you've got paint in the cup, if you take the needle out, it'll just run all over the place.
Yep.
You have to empty the paint before you can clean it.
Yeah. Well, okay, next we said it is Barbarian.
Yeah.
So I'll load this up in the Sotar while you're doing that. And thank you, Willow. Hey, Brett and Zach. Zach, I asked Brett, but he wasn't certain. What model of Sotar do you have? Thinking about upgrading my Patriot for Christmas. This is a Sotar 2020.
Yeah, but there's apparently different needle sizes that come with the 2020. Or different models of 2020? I'm not sure. I was able to provide Willow with that much information.
That was a Sotar 2020.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I do have the box back here.
Okay.
2022F.
All right. Oh, wait. Hold on. I'll do the top down. 2-2F. There you go, Willow.
Yeah.
Question answered.
No, everything's out here, I think.
Do you know what the 2F refers to?
No.
Okay, well.
Feed fine airbrush.
Okay.
I mean,
Feed fine.
I
That's
know that's what 2F
There's
means.
two Fs.
Oh, 2F, yeah. There we go. We just
Wait. Let me zoom in on that label again.
Feed fine. I guess that's what.
It's not focusing. Oh, wait, there it is, and then you moved it. Autofocus is hard. Maybe move it up a little bit so it's in the center of the field of view. There you go. All right, cool. And it's black.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I frankly, because I have not fixed my, I took a while to order this part for my Badger. I've been using the Sotar to do things that really the Badger should be doing. But I will say that if you're running pretty thin paint through it, you don't often need to thin paints. It depends on the brand. I still, I haven't thinned any of these Citadel paints that I used. I did almost all Sotar here today, and I did not thin, and it was all Citadel, and I did not thin any of it. I did not thin the Reaper Candlelight Yellow that I just applied, but I applied such a tiny amount of it that that's the only reason I feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
If I was having to do a lot, I would thin this. So you really don't have to thin, Citadel, and I find AK to be, I know Kat would say that I have to thin it, and she'd be right that I should be always thinning it, probably.
Always be thinning.
In most cases, but it kind of depends what you're doing. If you're trying to knock something out quick, you might not with AK, and it kind of depends on the color as well.
All right, what's next?
Next is the Barbarian Flesh. This is a Reaper that I probably should thin.
Okay.
Because I'm using enough of it on the rock that you've got going here that I should probably thin it. So let's do that. I'll do not my favorite, but thin in the pot, which I don't love. Always put your thinner in first when you do that, not second. And is this Reaper going to be one of the ones that comes out of the pot? Yes. Okay. Thinner first, then Barbarian Flesh.
Then paint.
Then paint.
Do you stir it?
I do give it a
Do
stir.
a little stir with a stirring stick or something?
I don't have a stirring stick here. I'm just going to use a hobby knife. I'm going to be very careful.
I use coffee stirrers.
Yep.
For stirring paint in the pot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have a selection of fine coffee stirrers here in the studio that we use for
Coffee. Mostly
coffee,
stirring our coffees.
but also stirring our paint in the airbrush pot.
Yeah. Adrian's in the studio. Can we talk about the coffee Adrian gets? It's very dark roasted. How do you feel about it?
I don't like it.
Let's just
we
do
have,
it on
there's,
stream.
There's
Let's just
like
do this.
a giant. There's like this
I know.
much super dark like French roast
I know.
coffee, and there's like one container of light blonde, and I always just and then
We went
as soon as
we
the,
went right through that. Yeah.
as soon as the blonde is like I always make the blonde.
Yeah. The light roast
Light
or
roast.
the medium. Sometimes it's
It's weird to
anything
me
other than
because
super
I
dark
feel like
roast.
Adrian loves caffeine also. Like that's a main part of the reason for drinking coffee. And
Yeah.
light roast coffee is
Usually more
highly
caffeine, yeah.
caffeinated. Yeah.
So anyway, it's fine. We don't, he's in the other room and or in the chat, but at some point he'll come in and probably yell at us on stream. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna do the barbarian
thing?
flesh.
Yeah.
Now, this color I'm gonna do pretty much all over,
Okay.
but I am no, that's not exactly true. I'm gonna kind of Zenenthal it here. And rebar paint has such a weird smell.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving. I'm being kind of random about this, I would say. And as you can see, some of the previous paint's still a little wet, but I think we're okay. I hate rushing wet paint. I need to actually not do that as much, but we're okay here. I am kind of trying to like some of the natural contours and curves Brett has created. I'm kind of trying to follow them a little bit more. So you can see like that one right here I did. It helps, I don't know, it helps give definition to the rock.
Yeah, I think there's some good spots on there where you can take advantage of some Zenithal things or some highlighty things.
Well, let's actually talk about that because that is sort of what the purpose of this color is.
Right.
This color, the barbarian flesh, is sort of honestly the last color in the last paint we're applying in the color of the thing it is world, and so in that regard, we do want it to be like a true highlight. So okay, that just happened. We got that. We've got a couple more to knock out here real quick, which is so now actually we get to do the weathering. Okay, and Brett, what I'm going to do when I knock out the weathering, I'm going to give you a small task, if you will, which is to, I've got this, and I've got the water bottle, the full water here, if you will, please. It does this thing, our little squeeze bottle, if any of you guys use the squeeze bottle to like rinse out your airbrush, once it gets low on water, it does this thing where it puts air bubbles in it, and the air bubbles cause like these aggressive splurts into your airbrush that like get paint everywhere, so you actually don't want that. Okay, here we go again with the weathering pattern, and on the rock it's very important, and you want to find some. We're going to put it around the base only of the rock, and so here we go. I'm going to do a few areas, and this is going to work in conjunction with our next step that I'll show you guys here in a second. So the big green can kind of go up a little bit more, but I'm thinking all of it here is like originating from the bottom. So I've got two areas there. Just gonna give that a little, got my fingers there a little bit. And then anything kind of, again, anytime you, on something like this or the masonry where it goes around a curve or around an edge, you get, I feel like you get a little bit of an exponential effect on the natural look that you're going for. So, okay, there's our Strachan green, the dark green. Next, I'm going to do the medium green. Oh no, that was Castellan green. Now we're doing Strachan green. Okay, I'm giving my airbrush not super deep cleans here. People are always asking how we do that. Keep airbrush cleans. When do we do a deep clean? Going through like a weathering pattern like this, I'm honestly just like making sure I'm running water through it. But I do want the water to be clear. And if people are like, oh, it doesn't matter because you're just adding to it, that's true. But I want the water to be clear because I don't want paint sitting in my airbrush that long.
Yeah. I think when you're doing a natural process like this, it's okay if you get a little bit of the last color in your current color.
Exactly.
Because we're just kind of blending them all together anyway.
Right. That's not what I'm worried about, though, right? Like I'm saying, what I'm worried about is I just don't want paint sitting in my, you know what I mean? I don't want the dark green in my airbrush now. Like I don't want old paint hanging out in there and having, So, okay, so we hit with the Strachan green here.
I'll zoom in on you a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's that.
So you're doing it close to the bottom because the idea is that like the moss is growing up from the floor, basically.
Yes.
I like that.
Exactly. Now to yellow things a little bit here.
Okay.
So now we do the Averland Sunset.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to get loaded up with the last brown highlights that we're going to do on top.
Oh yeah, the
right?
XV88.
Yeah.
And the Harvest Brown, which is like a reddish brown. So here comes yellow. Again, not too much of that. You can see, like, it's really not turning things yellow. Well, I mean, like, look, it is becoming more yellow, but it's not like we wouldn't say that that's a very yellow look.
You're just hitting the center of the green almost.
Yep.
As a highlight color. That's great.
Okay. And then last but not least is the actual vibrant yellow, which is the candlelight yellow. As opposed to like this kind of marigold color. This is like really a true yellow.
Okay.
And with that, I'll be like even more in the middle here.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think I've got this guy just about cleaned up. Are there any other steps for the bricks?
No, the bricks are done. Yeah.
Okay. So this is literally it. Right?
Yeah.
The last few steps here for the rock.
Yeah, which is cool. Like honestly, you can see Brett and I. Well, we didn't do a lot. We only did one rock, but you can see that you could actually crank. Like, look, hobbying is if you want to hobby, not just play. Which some people like to just play. I get that.
Yep.
If you want to hobby, pass this back to Brett. Okay. If you want to hobby, but you're also interested in like the aspect of Titans Train and just being able to pull out this box, again, kind of cool because you and a buddy could do all the scatter for it in a day, or you yourself could just do it in a weekend, or honestly a day. One person could really go very far with pink foam in a day. The other thing, of course, we don't have any here, weirdly, but I would also say, honestly, I know you guys always kind of laugh at me for this, but moss is going to go a long way here as well. Yep. The reindeer moss we like to put on our tables.
Where do you pick that stuff up?
Well, that's good. I actually should put a link to it at some point. I actually go to this website called Teresa's Plants, LLC. There's this lady who lives in very rural Arkansas who
this is why I asked this question, because I knew it was this like super bespoke.
Yeah, who grows all of this.
One lady who grows moss.
Yeah, and I've actually chatted with her a few times via email, and she didn't even know what miniature wargaming was or anything. And
that's so amazing.
Yeah, I sent her some pictures of like the moss on the tables.
Where her product ends up,
Yeah, she thought it was very cool. So Teresa's Plants LLC, I love if you're in the US. I don't know if she ships internationally. But you can also get this stuff. Honestly, you can get a lot. It's a lot more of even the color, like blue and purple ones are becoming available in Michael's or like craft stores and stuff. Now, so when Brett's applying this, he's doing some on the top. He's also doing some coming up from the bottom and like skipping over the areas I weathered.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's a little bit of overlap, that's fine. So why? Why is he doing some on the top and some on the bottom, but not as much in the middle? On the bottom, what it's going to do is tie it in with the rest of the Titans Train, and gives a pretty good match. I'll actually kind of show you guys this on the one we did already, and you can see the match here. I'm gonna take our masonry one up, and I'm gonna bring up the tile that is the blank Titans Train tile. And what I'll show you guys, you can see here like this, not a great match, right? This is the middle of the thing, right? This color, but look here, There's our match, much better.
Right.
Right, so we put this on the bottom, and by the way, we were talking about matching the grass, and the grass is really the tightest match, right there. You can see that. That is almost the same.
Right, so the bottom here, this XV88, but also this Harvest Brown specifically, has a lot more red in it. And the tile there is really red.
Well, he just walked out, but kudos to Adrian for coming in. I was working on this morning. I was like, I can't really match the dirt. And he was like, well, these are the colors I used, or that he kind of figured out would work, and he showed them to me. And the XV88, kind of interestingly, I had thought would be good. I was like, oh, the XV88 looks good, but it's a little too yellow. But then toning it down with the red brown, which is called Harvest Brown. And I don't know that Citadel makes this color. I actually want to see, just for whatever reason, if I could do all this with Citadel colors. But I don't know that Citadel makes an air like kind of reddish brown. It's not Mournfang brown, I know that. Is it?
I've got a Vallejo color I use called Red Leather that I use for basing. It's my dry brush color on top of my dark brown that I use for picking up the highlights on the texture paint that I put on my bases.
Yeah.
That I think would be a good fit for this.
Yeah, I can see, because we would like to be able to tell people some good color matches for Titans terrain. And I think we'll probably maybe we'll put a list on this video. But I'm kind of comparing these two. They're close. Actually, I probably did this in an area that the zoom's never going to show up too well. But they're close. But the Harvest Brown is not even here. Let's do it. Let's do it here. Here's Mournfang Brown. Okay, and then the Harvest Brown is just like, it's lighter. It's also a little more yellow, yeah.
Yeah, it's got some more reds in it.
Yeah. So the Mournfang Brown is in the mix, but it's not in it's not in the late stage of the mix, and it's frankly not the color we're using to match so well. Okay, while Brett does the last steps, I'm gonna step over to the Titan studio real quick and grab some moss.
I'm having that thing where I'm trying to get just a little bit more color out of it, and so I'm having to pulse the trigger to get just a little bit more color out of this pot before it, so I don't have to clean the whole airbrush. This is our last step, and I'm just trying to add. It's nice. The XV88 is sort of like a base coat of some light paint, and then adding this Harvest Brown will redden it up in a really nice way. And so you can see it really picks up the color where I apply the Harvest Brown the XV88 as a base coat makes it really pop. So I'm really just trying to get the base here. So you can see I got this nice reddish brown at the base. And I'm not going over where Zach weathered the greens. I'm just trying to have it color match a little bit better with the Titans terrain tiles.
Yep.
And then, I'm just going to apply a little bit to some of these highlight areas on the top where I had hit the XV88 as well. And I think we'll call it good. There is a dry brush step that we might do at the end, Zach.
Oh yeah, we can knock that out real quick. We're going to actually use Karak Stone. And it's going to be kind of a chill dry brush. I don't know if that's the right phrasing, but not a especially aggressive dry brushing. Remember,
lo-fi chill. Dry brush.
Remember, we don't actually really have harsh edges on this rock,
right?
Because we used a rock and kind of muddled it down. I think you could skip the step we're about to do here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't always love dry brushing with Citadel Air but you just got to.
A more wet paint.
Yeah, but you just got to really kind of get it in there, and you guys have seen me do this before, so I don't always love this, but I had it, and look, paints can be expensive, so if you can reuse one, paints can be expensive when we don't always use all of them. Sometimes they go bad, so anything you can use it for,
Lift it up a little bit.
Yeah, and frankly, I want it to be I don't want it to be an especially aggressive dry brush. This is going to be just enough to kind of grab some of the edges we have on here that Brett put on here. I can be kind of sloppy with this dry brush. Boom, boom, boom. Nice.
That's
and
good.
Easy.
Yeah.
Find anything you want to bring out. I like this edge right here.
Yeah, there's a couple good. I generally tried to sort of not make any of the edges too aggressive because I wanted this rock to appear more weathered. But there's a couple. I left a couple good ones there for us to pick up the edges of the dry brush a little bit.
Yeah. There we go.
Cool.
Okay. And we've got a little scene brewing here on the Glam Cam.
Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. I forgot that we had that ability. And you can see, get your moss in there, and there you go.
That's great. We've got some nice color. Yeah, you can see the browns match the browns in the base pretty well, and the greens match the grass in the base that's painted on. And then these moss colors also do a pretty good job of matching the base colors as well.
The moss is big, and frankly, it is the least expensive and least amount of work component to all this. If we had really wanted to phone in the stream today, maybe we would have just set moss around it. And called it. Maybe we would have done a moss selection, a moss selection stream, where we just kind of like, hey, here's how you pick out your moss.
Yeah, no, that looks great. And the white rocks are a really nice contrast. You can see in the tile here, there's some white rock. So the white rocks that you've made, Zach, really pick that color up really well.
That's the goal.
That's great.
That was easy.
We did the thing.
Yeah.
We made some cool terrain.
And the point is that it's easy, and it continues the trend of this all being easy. The terrain's easy. You pull it out. You're playing in a few minutes.
Right.
You've made your scatter. When you're ready to do a little hobbying.
What would you say? Like, you could probably do an entire board's worth of scatter for $20 worth of materials between moss, pink foam, and a paint, a few paint pots?
Well, let's say yes if you don't have the tools.
I see.
Right. The tools are part of it.
Right.
And we did consider even making the rock today with like a bread knife.
Right.
And you could do that.
Which you can do.
Which you could do. And if you did that, then you probably wouldn't need the rock that we used to edge it out. The bread knife would give it just a jagged look.
Sure.
It would have a different look than ours. But it would still be good. I said the sharpener was pricey, and that is true. But you could get actually a cheaper sharpener that uses the oil, and it'd be a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but it would work.
Yeah, you know what? Another tip, if you're on a budget and you're sort of balking at the cost of some of these tools, a good option is to pick some up used, either Craigslist or eBay. And then what you can do is you can buy it used, use it for a project, and then sell it for essentially the same price you bought it for.
Probably.
And you're out the cash during the time you're using it, but then you just recoup that, a couple months later when you're done. I've done that in the past with some other like woodworking projects and tough stuff where I need like a specific saw or whatever. And you're like, I'm only going to use this one time, but I really need it for this project.
Yeah. I'd be surprised you could get a wire cutter that way, but I'm sure you could get a lot of other stuff that way. Awesome. Next week.
This was fun.
Yeah, this is Friday. Wednesday, join us back at our normal time, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Adrian and I are going to be painting some tanks.
Tanks for Thanksgiving. Do you know what you're going to paint yet, Zach?
I think I'm painting a Tau tank. I have not ever shown my Tau paint scheme on stream. I've shown only my Sariani.
Yeah.
So green Tau, my green Tau. I believe Adrian said he's doing the Achilles Ridge Runner.
From GSC.
From GSC.
Oh, awesome. That's one of my favorite vehicles.
It is super cool.
I love it.
Both of these factions, GSC, we know when that That's coming out soon.
That's coming out in
and Tau,
January.
we believe, is also coming out
Yeah,
soon. Has been
some of the
teased.
rumors.
So that's what Adrian and I will be doing a little Thanksgiving stuff. And then beyond that, we have a lot of the rest of the year scheduled out. We have some cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
So please. Also, I do want to give Brett a shout out here. If you haven't watched the video that we put out on the Battle of Petch, we all contributed to that, but that was really mostly Brett's show, and it is amazing. It's great. Even if you don't like Tau, which, come on, of course you do, but even if you don't, you do like Kroot. Everyone loves
Kroot.
So Kroot, Orcs, Tau, it's got it all.
Orcs are really the heroes of that video.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure. But definitely check that video out if you haven't. Brett put a lot of work into it, and I think it came out great.
And I think the response has been amazing. We've been really happy with all the positive feedback that, like, I opened the video the next day and it was just like 60 comments of people being like, "This is an awesome video," and I obviously, like you said, Zach, I put a lot of effort into it, so it was really awesome to see that people appreciated that.
Yeah.
And it seemed to have been really well received. So I think my plan, and I'm saying it here on stream, so you guys have to hold me to it, is to do a second episode of that, a continuation of that plot line, once the new Tau book comes out. So once both factions have their 9th edition codexes,
which won't be too long. Yeah.
We'll revisit this narrative, see what happens in the next installment. After, I won't spoil the game for you, but after the events of last Saturday, we'll see how things shape up once both factions have a new codex.
Yeah, and if you're in our Discord in Hobby Titans Talk, or if you're watching this after it's gone to VOD on YouTube, in the comments below, let us know other narratives that you'd like to see us maybe do videos of. I know somebody said Iandin and High Fleet. I think it's either Leviathan or Kraken.
Oh, that could be awesome.
We don't have Iandin, but we are thinking we might like to have Iandin in the next year. So it's not out of the possibility. So if there's some cool narrative, we love to take those deep dives and do these combinations, I think, of lore, hobbying, and a game.
Yeah.
That's really what excites us a lot. So anytime there's a cool narrative, doesn't always have to be Tau. We do love Tau, but I also love Space Elves, and there's lots of cool factions.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everyone for your support on that video.
Thank you. We'll see you next Wednesday, or this upcoming Wednesday. Follow us on Instagram if you are not already.
I'll show that one more time.
Hobby.Titans.
Yeah. This is a brand new thing. Please join us.
A brand new thing. Not Instagram, but us on Instagram. Great. Brett, anything else?
No, I think we're all set. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on this Friday afternoon.
Yeah. Guys, that's it. I think, as we always like to say here, but be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and always be creating.
Bye.